What's up, guys? Before we get started today, there are other platforms you can find me on. Specifically, Odyssey is my preferred alternative platform. I do also do backups on BitChute. Odyssey is a little bit better, especially because their comment section allows me to interact with you. If any of you have any questions, it's a good idea just to diversify, and eventually I'll come up with a video explaining exactly why it makes sense to move away from YouTube or to diversify our creative positioning out in the content market. With that said, let's get into it. I just attempted for the fourth time to get Lineage OS 18.1 installed on this phone, which is the Hot Dog B OnePlus 7T, and it failed again. And I figured out what the issue is. It is that it's running the T-Mobile firmware, which is for HD 1907, but Lineage OS recognized the phone as HD 1905, so it doesn't recognize the correct firmware. And this has been kind of a struggle, but as I've been going through the process, I decided, okay, well, if nothing else is going to work, then I will go ahead and change the firmware to international. Some of the other people in the comment sections actually said that they swapped their phones out from the T-Mobile to the international firmware. And I found that thread on XDA forums, and I'm not going to be posting this link in the description. I'll tell you why. As I was going through and investigating doing this, I looked at the different steps that are required. And it says download and extract the patch MSM tool. Okay, cool. Download and extract TWRP 3.4, which I already actually have installed on this phone. And it's from a trusted source because it's Moro no Frio. And then download and extract the global version of Oxygen OS to flash onto the device. And there's a bunch of very precise steps in this installation procedure. But as I was going through, preparing to make a video, I realized that I should probably check the MD5 checksum before I go on YouTube and tell you all to do this installation procedure. And so what we'll do now is we'll actually go over and look in the directory for this phone. There's a file named firmware conversion. That's the one I was going to run. And then there's Hot Dog T, and that's Hot Dog B for T-Mobile. And we can see all of these files here. Well, if we take a look at the MD5 sum, we can see that it's 6132 and it ends in FE60. And we'll pull that file up right here. So we have this MD5 checksum up in front of us right now. Now we can exit Nano. And I'll clear this just so it's very clear. And we'll do MD5 sum and then Hot Dog T, which is the correct file. We'll take a look here and run an MD5 checksum. While this is running, I will pull up the document that has the MD5 hash for this particular file. And boy, this is a heavy file. You can see 6132 FE60. The checksum matches everything in between, matches too. It's a perfect match. Okay, now we can go over and I'll pull up the checksum for the firmware conversion. We can see F87E and then it ends in CA81. And then we will go into firmware conversion, the subfolder. And we'll see all those same files again. So we see Hot Dog T with 11 underscore 0.01. Now we could run the hash on that. MD5 sum. You can see that I ran the MD5 sum on the correct file. But what we get back, instead of the F87E, we get 6F1F. So someone has tampered with this file. And one of the reasons why I did this, and as a general practice for everything that I put up on my channel now, I'm running the MD5 codes and the SHA256 codes, even for Lineage OS, where we go over and we see that they have these codes right here. This is an official website. I've been running them just as a general rule, even though generally I trust Lineage OS, and all of these codes will match. But the tip-off here that this is a potentially dangerous file is that when you go to any of these, we'll open up some tabs. We can see fastboot ROMs. This is from SourceForge, so if it's a virus, then it'll get reported. There is a chance that there's someone else looking after you when you go to a site like even this. You know, it's not official Lineage OS. It's not as reliable as directly from the source, but it's better than nothing. You go over to Mauro Nofrio's TWRP, same thing. It's hosted on SourceForge, and that particular XDA developer is very precise. This is the web page for the patched MSM tool. It's just a random person's Google Drive account. That is a major tip-off. Whenever you're doing anything with your computer, if you're taking files that are just on random people's drives, if it's not someone that's saying, hey, this is a link from my account, where there's no accountability there, you should be extremely suspicious. And this is just a basic security video going over what you want to do, the basic things for security. It's a good idea just to go through and make absolute certain that what you're installing on your phone or your computer is from a reliable source. Who knows, if someone posts a video on how to change your firmware, if you don't check those MD5 checksums or those SHA checksums, there could be some serious issues. Just take the time, take the extra couple minutes whenever you're looking at anything in these videos or anything from any forum or any YouTube video, and run the sums for yourself. Especially if you're on Linux, these are relatively simple. There's basic instructions out there for Windows and Mac OS as well for MD5 sums. You can see SHA sum. It's a really simple command. It's just literally SHA sum and then the file name. You can look at our folder here. This is from what I was running earlier. Just do SHA256 sum, and you see Lineage nightly, whatever. It'll run the code, and you can go through and double check. This is from their file that they actually sent, or the SHA code from the Lineage OS website, and then this is the code that comes out of the hash. Lineage OS. Oh, I was running a slightly older version, so don't mind that doesn't actually match. C80EE. C80EE. I do go through and make sure like 100% that these things match, but really with these MD5 sums and these SHA sums, if the files are even a tiny bit different, it will change the dynamics of this hash dramatically. One bit of difference will output a completely different code that will be very easy to recognize. Now, I don't know that this document is malware. There might be a perfectly reasonable explanation where the person modified this .ops file and dropped it in the zip file, and it was originally like a standard MSM tool. The reason why I suspect that's not the case is I already have the MSM tool on my computer for the T-Mobile version. So in theory, the MD5 sum that they gave us, which is this F87, should match the MD5 sum from my original setup, but that's not actually the case. So just be careful out there, and sorry for the delay in getting Lineage OS 18.1 installed on this phone. It might not actually happen because if Lineage OS doesn't support the T-Mobile version of the OnePlus 7T, then I might not be able to do it. If that's the case, I will probably have to release a video on how to install TWRP a little bit earlier, and then we can go over things like reinstalling AOS IP through the twerp method, and then showing you how to actually do backups so that you can keep known good versions of your operating system in case you want to go down and do things like rooting your device. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. This is Nick, signing out.